Hey, party people. Question of the day is, am I too old to start my career in fashion? And the answer to that is probably not, because I don't know how old you are. Okay? For the most part, I get these kinds of questions from people in their 30s. If you're in your 30s, it is definitely not too late to get started. I honestly never thought I would have to do a video on this topic, but I get this email question a lot. So here I am addressing it to the rest of you. Okay? There are essentially, in my opinion, two career paths that require you to start very early in order to be successful. Okay? And those two career paths are one, child prodigy. That's kind of self-explanatory. You have to be a child to be a child prodigy. I love my dumb jokes. Sorry, can't help it. Number two, the type of career where you need your body to be at peak physical condition. And I'm talking professional athletes, Olympians, professional dancers, who are essentially athletes of a different kind. They start young, they train young, and they compete young, and then they retire, far before most other people consider retirement age, right? Because they need their bodies to perform at a certain level to do their jobs. Fashion designers? No. I have never been able to run a 12-minute mile, and yet I still do a pretty good job doing everything else that I do. I started taking art classes in high school, but I didn't take anything that was specifically fashion-centric. I took a lot of painting, screen printing, drawing, pottery, jewelry making, so a lot of different art things because I just really enjoyed it, but I didn't take anything fashion-centric, and I didn't really learn how to sew until I got to college. I think that some of you know that story about my first day of sewing class when I broke the sewing machine and I started almost crying in front of my entire class because I thought it was a sign that I wasn't meant for this kind of work. When I went to school with a lot of students who were older than me. So I went straight out of high school, so I was one of the youngest people there, but I went to school with people who were a little bit older than me, all the way up to 10 years older than I was at the time. Okay, so hovering in that late 20s, early 30s mark. And nobody cared. Nobody looked down on them because they were older. We're fashion designers. We look down on you if you can't do a good job or if you're doing a group project and you didn't do your work, okay? Okay? So we didn't care that they were older. I personally enjoyed having them around because they told you stories about what real life was like after school. Because, I had just gone from high school to college. I didn't know what it was like being an adult and paying my own rent and that scary adult world. And so it was nice hearing these stories from my classmates. Okay. On the flip side of that, when I was teaching in universities, I had students that were still older than me. Okay, so I had students who had kids in high school. Like they weren't able to come to school when their kids needed a lot of care, but when you're in high school, you can be left alone a lot. It's fine, right? While you do your homework. So yeah, they waited till their kid was in high school before they started college or their second round of college or whatever. I've had students who had a previous career and then decided to switch careers. In fact, I went to school. My freshman art history class, I had a classmate who was 40 and she was a lawyer and she just got tired of it. She got tired of the grind, and so she had come to art school to pursue graphic design. And she was still practicing like part-time to pay for school, but yeah, she was done with it. Oh, I had a student who was a stockbroker. The way she tells her story was like, I was a good Indian girl and I went into finance because that's what my parents told me to do to have a nice life, and I did that and I hated it, and I saved up a bunch of money because that's what you do, you make a bunch of money in finance, and then now I'm doing what I want to do, what I always wanted to do, which was fashion design. So she was about my age when I was teaching her. And if you watch my interview with Kathleen Fasanella, we talked about how there are all these people from different walks of life who have decided to make a change, start their own company, and reach out to Kathleen because she has a sewing factory, right? And she was talking about how she loves working with accountants because they're good with numbers and they're really straightforward and black and white on the business side of things. And yeah, so these people went to school, worked as a CPA, and then decided to switch over to fashion. Okay, so there are a lot of different approaches. I've seen, students in their 40s show at New York Fashion Week for the first time. Oh, Vera Wang, speaking of New York Fashion Week, she didn't start designing until she was 40. And the story is that she went into bridal design because her father said, I will give you a business loan to start your own company only if you go into bridal, because that is the sector that is making money right now. Okay? At the time she got started, and that's what happened. But yes, she didn't start her company until she was in her 40s. Her story is a little bit different because she had been working at Vogue and she had all these connections and stuff. So, okay, that's a little bit different. Nonetheless, the thing is, okay, like my stockbroker student who went into finance to please her parents, there's a lot of stories like that, art school, less so now, but a lot more back then. Art school is not seen as the practical option. I've heard the story a lot where parents don't want to help the student with their college if they don't go to a regular college. And so the student will either go to a regular college until they feel completely soulless and decide they need to go back to their original passion, or they decide, well, if I'm on my own, then I have to get a job and, working anywhere until I save up enough money to start school. So they do that for a while, then they come back to school. I've seen students where they do freshman year and they take a break because they have to go make more money. I've seen all these different options because that's life sometimes. That's okay. That's okay. It's not about when you start, it's about how hard you start. That's not as catchy as some of my other zoisms. I'm going to work on that. For you 14-year-old high schoolers who are trying to get ready for fashion school, I do have a video coming up on, what classes to take and, how to prep for your portfolio and all that good stuff. I have that video coming. And then one last note, I know I haven't been doing drawing and rendering videos for a while because this is so much fun, okay? And just carpal tunnel. My wrist hurts a lot. Editing is so fun. So I'm trying to do the minimum stress on my wrist. I will be back to drawing and rendering videos. The Watch Me Design series will be returning. The portfolio series, it's coming. I'm prepping it right now, kind of dividing the info up into bite-sized pieces. What was the original question? Oh yeah, am I too old to get started in my career in fashion? No, so go get started. Or you could go watch my Talking About the Fashion Industry series and then get started. Hit the thumbs up button if you found this helpful and want more Industry Real Talk videos. Share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Drop me all your questions and comments below, and I will see you in the next video.